My name is Deus. I graduated from Public Allies in 2010, and I'm currently the Community Engagement Director at Catalyst Miami. It's the site where I was placed as an ally, and I can't even begin to tell you how the program has changed me, my perspective, or my life. I'm so easily one of those people that Paul talked about. What I can tell you is that I'm extremely honored to be up here standing before you to share a little piece of my story. One of my first assignments as a public ally was to start a Dialogue to Action study circle in the West Grove. So while researching the West Grove, I found out that it was a low-income Afro-Caribbean neighborhood established by immigrants from the Bahamas who came to work as laborers at the Peacock Inn. It was in fact the very first black community in all of Miami. I learned so many facts about the West Grove, but my research did little to help my recruitment. A little excerpt from my journal that I looked at while I was trying to write this speech. November of 2009. Recruitment. Might as well be a four-letter word. They say it can be difficult to recruit for any study circle. But here I am, this little white girl with a southern accent going into what might as well be a foreign country to me. I grew up in a small town in the Appalachian Mountains where everyone looks like me and certainly talks like me. I'm sure you recognize my accent. I truly feel like an outsider, and I don't think anyone wants to talk to me. As a matter of fact, they think I want to study them. Maybe I shouldn't call it a study circle. People are skeptical at best and angry at worst, and things are not looking too good. I'm really scared I'm going to fail. I don't even know if I can do this. I'm wondering how I can connect to the people in this community where I feel like a foreigner. I wonder if they'll ever trust me. Well, I had lots of other journal entries similar to this one, and time was running out, and I had yet to find one single participant. And then everything changed. Another journal entry. December of 2009. My emotions are so mixed right now. I met Miss Donna today. She's an outreach worker at the Thelma Gibson Health Initiative, a local nonprofit in West Grove, and she offered to give me a walking tour. While walking, I saw so many things I wasn't prepared for, things that I had somehow overlooked before, things maybe I didn't want to see because it was too painful, like homelessness, drug use, prostitution, and extreme poverty. And I also had to admit that I was scared. While we were walking, many people came up to Miss Donna, and they started talking to her about anything and everything. Everyone knew her, and they trusted her. See, she used to be in their shoes, homeless, on drugs, and willing to do whatever it took to get her next fix. And since I was with her, people trusted me too. One lady talked about how she'd been clean and sober for 15 years, ever since her child was born, and how it's the hardest thing she's ever had to do, but worth it every day when she wakes up and knows that her baby's okay. Miss Donna looked at the little boy, and she said, "You know, he could be president one day." And I wonder if that statement would have meant as much had Obama not won the presidency the year before. And I felt a sense of pride knowing that I was one of the few Southerners that voted for him. While walking, I heard people's stories, and I saw them give what they could to one another. A word of encouragement, a calling card, groceries, food stamps, whatever they could, though they had little to give. And then something unexpected happened. I found myself getting homesick. The West Grove reminded me of my own hometown, where everyone knew everything about me and would give the shirt off their back if I needed it. It was the first real sense of community I'd felt since I moved to Miami. In addition to being a very close-knit community, I noticed the West Grove was a very spiritual community. It had over 30 churches in a small neighborhood. And Miss Donna, well, she introduced me to one of the pastors at the churches. And while explaining I was looking for people to be in the study circle, he looked at me, he shook his head, and he said in a very matter-of-fact tone, "You do realize they think you're part of the problem, don't you?" I told him I did, and to my surprise, that was when he decided to help me. After that, we had so many people wanting to be in the study circle that I ended up having to turn people away. Our group proved to be quite diverse. We had people who were homeowners and people who were formerly homeless, people who were angry and people who were simply happy to be there, people who were so used to talking that all they wanted to do was dominate the group, and people who feared their voices wouldn't be heard. And sometimes it was a challenge to get people to see their own assets. During one of the recruitment interviews, a lady named Miss Phyllis asked me, why would I want her to be in the study circle? What did she have to contribute? What did she have to offer? I pointed out that she had lived and worked and volunteered in the community for over 15 years, and few people knew their community as well as she did. She responded with, no one cares what I have to say. I let her familiar words sink in. I had heard them before. And then I looked at her, and I told her that I cared. And I did. The first few sessions went by and she barely spoke, only answering direct questions. And then at the third session, people started arguing, and I got a little nervous. I understood that they needed to express their pain, so I didn't want to interrupt them. I understood that they were angry. And right when things were getting really heated, Miss Phyllis's hand shot up and she stared me down. I could sense her thinking, you said you wanted to hear what I have to say. You said that I would be heard. And so I called on her. And she spoke of unity and how they were all in this together. And everyone listened and nodded. And she proved to be instrumental in keeping the group focused and unified. That year, we built the largest, most sustainable study circle in 3 years. And I have to say, it was some of the most difficult and rewarding work that I've ever done. Looking back, I remember asking Jake, the supervisor of the program, who's here, somewhere up there, with tears rolling down my face, who am I to go in this community and talk about poverty when these people know more about poverty than I ever will? How will they ever accept me? I remember him telling me that I wasn't there to solve their problems. I was there to help them figure things out for themselves. I was there to listen while they identified their issues, looked at their assets, and found their own solutions. And they did. The group decided their project was going to be to re-energize a shower ministry across the street from the church. And I was like, what in the world is a shower ministry? But my job was to facilitate and follow their lead, and so I did. And I learned that a shower ministry was a place for homeless people to go to shower and leave their clothes to be washed and mended and picked up for the next time that they came. I learned that if they wanted to, they could go across the street to the church for a hot meal and a sermon. And understanding that the West Grove is such a spiritual community, like I said, with over 30 churches, I knew it was important for them to be clean and feel respectable before entering a house of worship. Our group received a small grant from Catalyst Miami, the organization where I worked, and they chose to pay the water and power bills for the whole year. In addition, they partnered up with another church, Pursuit Miami, who provided them with bins with each of the participants' names on them. Inside was their very own soap, toothbrush, toothpaste, comb, and other toiletries. And I can imagine how important this small detail must have been to them when so few things truly belonged to them. Throughout this process, I learned a lot about myself. I questioned many things, and my insecurities crept up on a regular basis. On February 10th, 2011, I found out that our study circle was going to be in the Public Allies book, Everyone Leads. While looking back at my experience in the West Grove, and while writing this, so many memories came flooding back. But the one thing I remember most is being so scared that no one would trust me, that no one would talk to me, that I wouldn't be able to relate to anyone. And now I have to smile that at the end of my study circle, the group invited me to a barbecue at one of their homes. When I got there, the group presented me with a scrapbook with all their pictures and their mini biographies. This whole time, I feared that they would never accept me, and here they were, giving me a memento so I would never forget.